Good day, everyone. For this particular video, we'll be discussing about finding the gap statement of your background study as part of your introduction. So the gap statement is found in the introduction section of a research paper that will succinctly identifies for your readers the gap that you will attempt to address in your research project. So usually upon reading different review of related literature or studies, so you will identify a certain low points in a particular study, points wherein not totally understood or points that are not been clarified. So that will be the basis for your gap statement. Those low points, those unclarified sections, or those results that needs to be explained further will be the basis for your gap statement. So the example of gap from Mosake and Koreda, 1995, states that the relationship between the four damping factors, for example, internal friction, support loss, airflow force in free space, and squeeze force, has not yet been clarified. So it is obvious which one is dominant in actual microsystem. So this one is actually a gap statement because of this particular phrase highlighted in red text has not yet been clarified, meaning this particular phenomena has not been fully understood by the current researchers, thus they find it as their gap statement. So the authors signal us, the readers or evaluators, that this is a gap statement because the use of words has not yet been clarified. That's what I mentioned earlier. Other phrases that might help you identify or form a gap statement are the following: has or have not been, studied, reported, or elucidated, is required or needed. The key question is or remains, and it is important to address. So meaning when you are writing your gap statement, these phrases must be visible in order for us to direct the attention of our research evaluators or our readers that this is the gap statement. So we need to direct them and to lead them to understood that this will be our gap statement that we need to further discuss or further explain in our particular study. So the phrases you can use to indicate your gap fill. So after stating your gap, you need to write your fill statement, gap and fill. If there is a gap, there will always be a fill. So after writing your gap statement, you say, the researchers therefore analyzed dot dot dot. In this study, the researcher investigated dot dot dot. Therefore, the goals of this study are, and in this paper, the researchers report. So meaning this will be our answer to our gap statement. So what has been done in our own current study? So other strategy in identifying the gap would be the following. So useful strategy is suggestions for future researchers or conclusion section of existing studies on your topic. So upon reviewing different studies and literature, we need to check for recommendations for future researchers. And that will be our guideline on a particular gap or our basis if that particular recommendation is feasible for our current study or not. And we can actually adapt that as our gap statement. So many times, authors will identify areas where they think a research gap exists and what studies they think need to be done in the future. So you will also be doing the same. So after finishing your final manuscript for your research, you will also actually recommend something for future researchers. And future researchers will now study that as part of their current problem. So one strategy, as mentioned earlier, is also for us to look for recommendation section or conclusion part of a research study and possibly adapt um, the particular recommendation in our current study. Okay, I hope that you learned something about this particular gap statement discussion and see you in our next video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much and have a great day.